country and we the people on UST Party Radio.
Welcome to UST Party Radio, God, Country, and We the People, with Bill Gruber and Kaz Taylor.
My name is Bill Gruber, and I've got you there, partner.
That's me, Kaz here.
You know, the U.S. House of Representatives is about to be repopulated, as you know, with many conservative congressmen and women, and Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann is offering classes to them on the Constitution.
I love it.
You know, I mean, that's kind of the foundation of what we do here,
I think
isn't
they
it?
should know about that.
But we actually want to do the same for those of you who put all of them into office, all the wonderful people who elected these Republicans back into office. So we'd like you to meet our historian and expert of the Constitution, Bill Federer, and he heads up the AmeriSearch, and he broadcasts the American Minute across the country. And Kaz.
Exactly. Hello, Bill Federer. How you doing?
Hey, great to be with you, Bill and Kaz.
My listening friend, this is Bill Federer is our go-to guy when it comes to American history and biblical facts and things like that. Bill, we've got the different articles that comprise the Constitution, and let's talk about those articles in this segment and to what area of government or the population are they focused. Article 1 deal with legislative powers of the House and the Senate, and there are 10 sections to it. Talk a little bit about Article 1.
It's Congress that decides the money. So today, all the liberal stuff that the president is proposing, Congress can simply cut off the funding for it.
So the legislative branch, Congress, it holds the purse strings.
Right, and the bills typically start in the House, and then they go to the Senate, and then they go back and forth, and then they go to the president. And their intent was to design a government that changed slowly on purpose. Jefferson was in France when they wrote the Constitution. Jefferson comes back. He's having tea with George Washington. And Jefferson complains. He says, why a bicameral legislature? Why a House and a Senate? He said, this is so cumbersome, it's going to take forever to get anything done. But Washington said, you have just demonstrated the brilliance of this plan right now. And Jefferson says, how is this? And Washington said, you have just poured your hot tea into the saucer and back again before you drank it. In the same way, we have two houses so that the bills get poured back and forth till it cools the passions of the people, so that nothing is passed in the passion of the moment, that there's nothing that should be shoved through without the people really, really wanting it. So that was the design.
So Article 1 is going to be that's what they'll use to try and defund the health care mandate, right?
Right, and so this was the idea, is that that our founders didn't want a situation where a president had an agenda that he shoved through come blank or high water.
Well, speaking of president, that brings us to Article 2.
Yeah, Article 2, executive presidential powers, having 4 sections. Talk about that briefly.
Well, the president has limited powers. That the idea was to have a tug-of-war between the House and the president, the legislature, the president, and the judiciary. So each branch would try to be king of the hill. And this was the dynamic tension that was set up, and the only thing that can circumvent it is to have one party control all 3 branches.
Oh, yeah, well, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
And then you basically eliminated the idea was to put the selfish power of the president pulling against the selfish power of the legislature, pulling against the selfish power of the judiciary.
Yes.
So their selfishness would guard their sphere of influence. But the president is elected every 4 years. He's during time of war, he's the commander-in-chief. The president is the enactor of the bills.
Okay, yes. Article 3 of the Constitution deals with the judicial. We're talking about a balance of government, and you said kind of a righteous tension between them all, and so you have the third component in Article 3 of the Constitution called judicial powers. Briefly talk about that.
Well, the judiciary is the weakest of the 3 branches, and it was never intended to make law, so all this judging from the bench is totally unconstitutional. And the Congress only is supposed to set up a Supreme Court, and all the other courts, the Constitution sets up the Supreme Court. Congress can set up inferior courts as they feel needed, and they can abolish inferior courts, and they can set things outside of the jurisdiction. And so Congress can say, okay, judges, you can't judge on this particular item.
So let's move on to Article 4 then, Bill. Article 4, state and citizen powers, having 4 sections. Speak about that a little bit.
There is this division between the federal government and the state government. Most of the laws governing personal behavior are under state jurisdiction. The federal government was only supposed to take care of the big items like securing the borders, providing for national defense, a navy, regulating interstate commerce, making sure that the different branches got along.
Yep.
But
well, and so here we have 4 articles of the 7 articles of the Constitution, and a lot of time the federal government tries to usurp the state's right and the citizens' right, and that really deals with Article 4. Now we've got Articles 5, 6, and 7, and I'm not going to say that they're of lesser value, but they're of a different component. Like Article 5 of the Constitution deals with and outlines the amendment process.
Yeah, now this is important. You know how judges say, well, we need to have the laws evolve so they can meet every different time of era that people live. We have a provision for our Constitution to evolve. It's called the amendment process.
Yes.
And it's not done through the judges deciding that they're going to arbitrarily make a decision from the bench. If people want to pass a law getting rid of slavery, the 13th Amendment, we can make an amendment. If we want to pass a law to give women the right to vote, the 19th Amendment, we can do that.
Because of Article 5 in the Constitution allowing this.
Right.
You know, my listening friend, you're beginning to see how magnificent this document is for ebb and flow and the balance of power. Article 6 deals with debts and treaties and oaths of office and things like that.
Well, the states cannot make independent treaties with other countries. That the president, through the Secretary of State's office, is the one to do the treaties with the other countries. The states can't lay any impost or duties or taxes that can interfere with any treaties that the government has, and no vessel of war shall be kept up in time of peace, except under a certain number. So it's, again, deals with the relationship between the states and the federal government.
Article 7.
It has to do with filling vacancies and appointments of military officers. But that's important because it shows that the military branch is not superior. So it's not a ruling military coup like in the Roman Empire. The military is underneath of Congress.
Yes. We're talking with Bill Federer, and he's really one of our favorite historians, the American Minute, broadcasts across the United States. And here we have 7 articles comprising the Constitution of the United States of America and a beautifully balanced document.
Well, it is to prevent a king. That's all of what our Constitution is. It's to prevent a king. That our founders were afraid of one thing only, all power gravitating into the hands of a king. And so they put all these loops and hurdles to jump through but to get anything done. In other words, they designed a government that would be inefficient on purpose. Slow to making good changes, but thank God it was slow to making bad changes.
And we talked briefly about the Constitution. Next, we're going to highlight some amendments that are most vital to us today on UST Party Radio, broadcasting from WSRadio.com, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.